This is Jasmina, and in this video I'm going to talk about the intelligence star. Again, it's one of the symbolic stars. Now, this star has tons of names associated with it, even in Chinese. And here's at least a partial list. There's probably more, but there are some real commonalities here, and you can usually pick it out. This character here that I've highlighted, this translates basically as literature, more meaning in terms of like novels and poems than, let's say, scientific literature, although I suppose it covers both. Now, this character here, this translates, or at least as part of learning or as students. Now, a student is a two-character word that uses this and another character which I don't remember off the top of my head, but I do recognize this one. Now, this is here in these two. This translates literally as seal, as in an official seal. This is also part of the direct and indirect resources in Chinese. This character appears. So when you have resources, you're able to learn. That's basically what it's getting at. And then finally, we have this one. This translates as word, literally as word. So, or a word. So everything has to do basically with words and learning. Uh, and so this is why it's called the intelligence star in English. Now, the intelligence star, if you have it, you tend to learn faster and more deeply with the same amount of input compared to a lot of other people, or at least people who don't have this intelligence star. They do tend to have a thirst for knowledge, but they're not wed to the knowledge. So they can learn new things, and that can supersede the old knowledge if they realize the old knowledge is incorrect. Of course, they do make a judgment when they learn something new or hear something new. They make a judgment of which is correct, because sometimes the new knowledge is not correct. It just could be, wrong. Now, their knowledge and their solid ability to think and reason, and logic is usually involved here too. This can change a problematic situation into an advantageous one. So this is a really good star to have, of course. Now, they also tend to be gentle, gracious people because they don't like to hurt people because they have better things to do. They don't want to deal with people with hurt feelings because, they'd rather think honestly. Now, it is possible to have too strong of an intelligence star, and that could occur if you have two of them in your chart. This can lead to conceitedness, which tends to lead to your downfall because will you will actually maybe get too wed to one idea that isn't correct, and other people can see it's not correct, and that's usually how it leads to your downfall because you just think you're right and you don't consider you might be wrong. But this usually has to be very, very strong for this to happen. Now, men with a star, this comes from the book, men with a star are supposed to be self-confident, women are supposed to be beautiful and talented. However, this is extraordinarily sexist, and I don't think you should consider this to be true. I would say people with a star tend to be self-confident. I think that's the easiest thing to say. And maybe talented, or at least since they can learn, they probably are more talented, at least in certain areas. Beautiful, I'm sorry, whether you're a man or a woman, that's more based on your genes than on this star. Because, if your parents, very rarely does a child come out of parents who aren't very attractive. A beautiful child is fairly rare. It can happen, but, it's not common. Now, this is generally agreed upon, although I think the years might need adjustment, but the location of the completion identity or entity, which you'll see in a second. If it's in the year pillar, this means that the strongest years of learning, where they learn the most, is when they're a child, before adulthood. Now, this can usually keep going throughout their life, but this is where they learn the most. If it's in the month pillar, it's basically when they start working. So that doesn't mean they don't learn here. It just means that they learn more here. And of course, once you've learned more, that tends to continue the rest of your life, and you can continue to learn. Maybe not quite as fast, but you have no trouble learning. The day pillar, it is more like when you're higher up in your job, or have lived enough to basically developed better understanding of the world. And maybe you're just not learning certain things until you get to this point, although you still learn. It's not a problem. And if it's in the hour pillar, it should be when you're a lot older. Now, this would be in the sixth luck pillar for most people. And this, in the olden days, this is when you were supposed to retire. So maybe these years should be shifted upwards a bit. But this would say that basically after you retire, you learn the most. Now, when Chinese metaphysics came into being, the average lifespan was under 40 years. So most people never made it to this point. They often only made it to this point. So you have to kind of, these are only loose numbers. Okay, so don't be too wed to these numbers. Now, it is true that you still have to worry about things like clashes and countering of your completion element or branch. And so you should watch this video if you haven't. It's called Symbolic Stars General Rules. There are some general issues that can occur, but once you've watched it, you usually know what to look for, and you only really have to watch it once unless you forget. Now, this is the rules, and we are looking at the day or the year stem here. So that's the day master or the year stem. And the completion will be a branch. So this is the normal way we list the elements, starting with wood, yang first, yin first, then yin. So yang wood, yang fire, yin fire, yang earth, yin earth, yang metal, yang water, yin water. So not hard to do. And then this may seem random, but it's not, and I'll show you in a second. This is snake, this is horse. This is monkey and rooster, and monkey and rooster are repeated. Then we have pig and rat, and then tiger and rat. So this is why it's not random. The idea, of course, is that if you have knowledge and you don't apply it, there's no output. It doesn't do you any good. So for all of these, there is a relationship between the stem here and the branch here. So these two are wood stems. Wood produces fire. The main chi of both the snake and the horse is a fire. This is yang fire, this is yin fire. Now, I'm going to skip this. There is a relationship. It's a little different, but we'll go with the earth first. The yang earth, these are yang earth. This is, these are metal. So earth produces metal. So this is the output, of course. So this makes sense that these would be the metal ones for the earth, daymaster, or year stem. Now, fire and earth often share the same elements, and this is the case, but also there is a relationship here. These fire, this controls the metal. So fire controls metal. So there is a relationship that, let's say, modifies it. For a fire day master, uh, these metal can give them some focus. So because these tend to be quite passionate people, oftentimes they need some focus. So that is, you can look at it that way. And then we have these two. These two are metal. And these two, their main chi is water. So metal produces water. Makes sense. And I think now you guys get the idea very well. These two are the water daymasters or ear stems, and they produce wood. And these two are wood. Their main chi is wood. So this isn't random. There's a very, very clear pattern here. Now, a luck pillar can also create those 10 years, just to be very clear about that. Now, even if you do not have the intelligence star, and this is one of the few that you can do this with, you can take advantage of feng shui to help you or your children learn. And these days, in general, learning more is the way to go to have a good life or a wealthy life, let's say. Now, you can face certain directions or be in certain locations within a residence or within a room, and that refers to the location. This is through feng shui can improve your ability to learn. Now, some schools use the houses facing or sitting direction to determine the best location. Other schools use the properties of an individual to determine the best location. I prefer the individual person's properties over the house properties because I have a video all about the 8 mansions and why I don't believe it works, and personally believe it does not function as stated. The individual's personal 8 mansions is totally fine. I agree with that. I just don't agree with the house. And I do explain in that video why I think it is, because it's too convenient. You always have a good sector in the right place during ancient times when they did this, which to me, there shouldn't be that guarantee. Now, it is best if the other properties like the flying stars, the purple white, and the Chi chart are good in that sector, but it does not disqualify a location. And the direction, whether or not it's a good personal direction for you, also does not disqualify this. So you can use this, you can try it out, see if it works. There is other ways to do it. There is other ways to tap into a good direction. And that would be your success direction. That would be the best one. That is an alternative, but I would try this, what will be listed here first, if you feel the need to improve your ability to learn. So here you look at your day master. And again, it's yang wood, yang fire, same order as always. And this is the location, and this would be the location within your house that is where you would want to be. This is where the energy is located. And if you do have the intelligence star and you still feel like you need a boost for something that's very difficult to learn, then you can also be in this sector to increase your ability to learn. Although there is a danger of making it too strong. If you already have 2 intelligence stars in your chart, I would not use this, because it can lead you to be conceited and end up being wrong because you're convinced you're right. So there is a warning here. If you have just 1 intelligence star and something that you have difficulty with, that you can't seem to get through your head, you can use this. Now, if you can't use that location within the house, let's say it's missing from the house or it's in the garage or something like this, then you use small Tai Chi within usually that person's bedroom, so that there's a place where they can have, privacy, shut the door, have it more quiet, and then they can learn. Now, there is also a mountain listed here, and this is a subsector. if you have a mountain, and of course in Chinese, hills and higher ground qualify as mountains, this will improve the quality even more, but it does not need to be there. It's just an enhancer. Don't worry if you don't have it. It doesn't destroy this formation. It just helps it along. Now, when it comes to the facing direction, now we're looking at the year stem. So that's what YS means. And here, these are all different than the location. And this is the direction you face. It helps you learn faster and more deeply because it's tapping into a certain type of an energy. Now, this can be very, very different. Unless you have the same day master as year stem, you are going to be in very different locations. So, or very different directions than your location. And you can just use it, or if it's impractical, and it could be, then face your personal success direction, which hopefully won't be impractical. Now, again, having a mountain, and these are general 45-degree sectors, not 15-degree subsectors. This will also help you have to have a better quality of learning. But again, it's not necessary. It only bumps it up a bit. Now, personal observations. I do this for most of these. My husband does not have this in his natal chart, but his very first luck pillar had the correct branch. And his father was smart enough to bribe him mostly with toys, but also later with money, to get better grades, work harder, and he has that potential, obviously, and his father could see it, and he has basically ever since that time remained interested in gaining knowledge in lots of different things, and so he is definitely an intellectual. But I think if his father had not done this, he would be much more average. But his father may or may not have known this, but because, my husband being Chinese, maybe the fortune teller told them to do this. I don't know. And he doesn't remember. But this could be why it was done at the right time. Now, I have this in my hour pillar, but I don't think I'm learning any faster now than I ever did, and I'm now in the period of time where this would be appropriate. That is, I'm at the right age. But I would say that I've always been interested in learning things, at least for the subjects that I've been interested in ever since I was a child. So for me, art and science were always interesting. My least interesting subject is English. And consequently, I know very little English grammar, and I guess maybe blame isn't the right word, but let's say I think there's a reason why my grammar is so poor. That is, I don't really know how to describe a sentence in terms of grammar, because all my teachers, all the way up to high school, they spent 10 minutes on what is a verb and a noun. And as soon as I heard that, after like third grade, as soon as I heard that, I started daydreaming. And I'm sure they said very loudly, now listen up, this is now is new information. I was so deep in my daydream, I never heard them. So I basically only know what a verb and a noun, an adverb and an adjective is when it comes to English grammar. Everything else, I know there are terms to refer to it. I have no idea, and I don't care. So, but it would be more important if English was not my first language. So even though I know I don't write very well grammatically, I can get my point across. So for me, that's good enough. Now, this is a little bit interesting. My preferred location for learning and creating these videos happens to be in the north sector of my house, which is my preferred sector to be in by my day master, but I don't think I learn any faster here than I did in other places in the house when I used to be in other places. Right now, this just happens to be the right place to be uh, because I have a laptop rather than a tower computer where I had to be where the tower was. So, and it wouldn't fit where in our north sector. So it just is, I just feel it feels good here. And, but I don't face the correct direction according to to my year stem. But that's okay. I actually already have the star. I don't want to triple up on it. I probably have the mountains because we're kind of surrounded by mountains. I probably have the right mountain, but I can't see it from where I'm sitting. So um, I don't know that it counts. Now, as I said, I rarely face the correct direction simply because it's not practical in our current residence, and that's okay. I actually tend to face my worst direction, but that's okay. I'm in a good sector. So that's it. I hope that this is useful to you, especially because this is one that you can actually use some feng shui to help if you don't have the star in your chart, especially in your natal chart. Now, most other symbolic stars don't work that way. So I would suggest, yes, you take advantage of this if you can. See if it works. It should help. It's probably not automatic, but if you do it for a while, you may see that you can learn faster about certain subjects. And usually the subjects you're interested in already. I'm not sure it works very well for something that you're forced to learn, but you can try it out. Thanks again.